Like, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never wanted to sign to nobody. That's just my mentality. And you know, in the city, it's like you got to sign to either one of them. You got to be paper out of CMG. So before WAP came out, I'm still Chopper Gang. That's my label. So I wanted to be like, why you can't be signed to Chopper Gang, CMG, or paper route?
Pooh Shiesty popped up fast and shook the whole rap scene. But things got messy quick when he got tied to 2 wild shootouts that later landed him a 5-year prison sentence. His story went from a kid catching a charge at just 11 to grown-up accusations claiming he had people trying to target an enemy during a show, and the whole situation spun out of control real fast. Shiesty grew up on the south side of Memphis, one of the toughest zones in the whole country, where issues spark fast and one bad decision can change everything. That part of the city sees non-stop tension, and folks move careful because the wrong step can get dangerous quick. But Shiesty had one big advantage. His dad was respected in the streets and in music, giving him a look into both worlds. His dad, a rapper known as Mob Boss, built his own label called Mob Ties and had a reputation from years of being around real street life. Mob Boss dealt with serious charges tied to guns and other crimes, but when he wasn't fighting legal problems, he was teaching Shiesty how the streets, the studio, and the hustle behind the industry worked. By the time Shiesty was around 8, he was already on the road with his pops, learning how tours were set up, how studio sessions moved, and how music business really looked behind the scenes. Even with all that influence, Shiesty actually loved basketball more than rap at first, even though his dad kept pushing him to put in work on the mic. But eventually, Shiesty ended up following his dad into the street lifestyle instead of sports, and that's when things took a turn. He caught his first charge at only 11, showing just how rough Memphis was for him growing up. Crime and danger were normal around him, and in one interview he even said people from his neighborhood had usually seen at least one friend lose their life by the time they're 15, a heartbreaking reality that shaped his whole mindset. It was never fully confirmed how he caught that early robbery charge or what the situation even was, but that same year, things got even more chaotic when Shiesty got kicked out of middle school after people claimed he brought a gun on campus. Shiesty has always said he never had a weapon at school, but that wasn't the only time trouble found him as a kid. He ended up getting arrested again at 14, but the whole case stayed sealed since he was still a minor, so nobody really knows what went down. From early on, Shiesty was deep in a rough lifestyle, way earlier than most kids ever should be. He was surrounded by danger constantly, and his path could have easily ended in tragedy or a long bid behind bars before he even turned 18. But things finally shifted when his mom stepped in and moved him out of Memphis to Texas for a couple years, trying to calm down the risky behavior and give him some space to breathe. They ended up in a tiny spot called Flickerville, and that switch up in scenery helped him reset his mind in a big way. When he eventually came back to Memphis, he locked in on grinding for real. He hit summer school to finish his high school diploma, and at the same time, he made the decision to take music seriously and leave some of the street stuff alone. Growing up, Shiesty always freestyled just for fun, but it took a while before he finally got in the booth for real and started dropping tracks with confidence. He also put together a crew with his close friends called Choppa Gang. He says it's just a group focused on music and making legal money, but the police and some folks in the city believe they're a dangerous street crew tied to a bunch of violent situations around Memphis. Shiesty didn't start blowing up until 2019, but even before that, he was hopping on tracks with his homies and building his name. In 2018, he linked up with another Memphis artist named Big 30, and together they dropped Shiesty's first official single, Hell Night. The track went crazy for a brand new rapper coming out the city, and the video shot up to over 14 million views. A lot of artists rap about stuff they never lived, but when Shiesty dropped Choppa Talk, people felt like he was describing real things he experienced, and that raw energy made the streets pay attention fast. He dropped lines like, "I got some killers, you got some killers, but mob be killing more. You shot my, we killed your, now we even the score. And I don't do no capping, this is my soul, and I can't go to sleep unless I got a pole." Fans already knew Shiesty grew up in the rough streets of Memphis, but nobody realized how intense his background really was until later on. At this point, Shiesty only had a handful of tracks out, but his name was buzzing heavy across the city. Then out of nowhere, he got a random text from a southern rap legend that changed everything. Memphis is a tight city with no west side, and for years the rap game there was split straight down the middle.
Like, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never wanted to sign to nobody. That's just my mentality. And you know, in the city, it's like you got to sign to either one of them. You got to be paper out of CMG. But so before WAP came out, I'm still Chopper Gang. That's my label. So I wanted to be like, why you can't be signed to Chopper Gang, CMG, or paper route?
Before Young Dolph was tragically shot and killed, he had a long-running, well-known feud with Yo Gotti and Gotti's CMG label, and anybody coming up in Memphis felt that pressure. If you were a street artist trying to build a name, people expected you to pick a side, Dolph's Paper Route team or Gotti and CMG. On The Breakfast Club, Shiesty explained it clearly, saying, "I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never wanted to sign to nobody." And in the city, it's like you gotta sign to either one of them. You gotta be Paper Route or CMG. So before WAP came out, I'm still Choppa Gang. This is my last. Why you can't be signed to Choppa Gang, CMG, and Paper Route. That was his mindset, staying independent from the city's long-standing division. So when Gucci Mane hit him up one random day asking if he was signed, Shiesty realized this was the perfect chance to dodge all that Memphis drama completely. Gucci ended up bringing him into the new 1017 label and even lined up a major deal with Atlantic Records. A couple months later, they dropped their collab Still Remember. And just like that, Shiesty was officially in the spotlight. He didn't slow down either. Less than a week after that collab, he released another track with Lil Baby and Big 30, keeping his momentum crazy strong. On that track, Shiesty even gave his dad, Mob Boss, a shout-out with the bar, "See something? I gotta have it. Tuck your chain before I grab it. Spin this block in the caddy. These F&N's black plastic. Ms. Gladys raised a savage. They say I shoot like my daddy." And that line hit different because unlike some rappers who only rap about street stuff for image, Shiesty's family really lived that lifestyle. One of the biggest drug figures Memphis has ever seen is a man named Ronnie Woods, the head of a group called the Memphis Mob. They were known for running the city's drug operations for nearly 30 years. The crew got hit with a massive indictment in 2019, but back in the day, Shiesty's dad was allegedly connected with Woods and had business dealings with him in the streets. So when people heard Shiesty's bars, they realized it wasn't just music. He was speaking from a real place. By 2020, Shiesty was one of the hottest new artists in the industry, but that's also when fans started learning just how deep his roots in the streets actually went. Nobody really knows exactly how the whole situation kicked off, but at some point, Shiesty ended up in a serious feud with another Memphis rapper named Big Boogie. Shiesty even called him out on IG Live, stirring things up, and soon after, rumors started flying that some people connected to Choppa Gang were the ones who tried to target Boogie during a show, though nothing has ever been proven. In July 2020, Boogie was performing in Como, Mississippi when the entire event exploded into chaos. Shots started flying in the middle of the concert, and whoever pulled up came ready for real. Over 100 rounds were fired into the crowd. Boogie survived the attack, but 2 people tragically lost their lives, and at least 4 more were hit before the scene cleared. People online kept trying to tie the situation back to Shiesty or Choppa Gang, but no evidence ever confirmed any of that. But Big Boogie wasn't the only Memphis artist people speculated Shiesty had issues with. Rumors claimed he had tension with another rival too, which kept his name in headlines more and more. 2020 became the year Shiesty truly took over the rap game. He had collabs with Lil Baby and Gucci Mane blowing up everywhere, but when he teamed up with Lil Durk, the whole landscape shifted. They dropped Back in Blood, and the song instantly took off, hitting almost 300 million streams on Spotify and turning into a massive anthem across the country. Shiesty had a multi-platinum hit, even though he had only been in the industry a short time, but it was also obvious he still hadn't fully stepped away from street situations. There was a crew from the north side of Memphis called EBG, and they had long-standing issues with Shiesty's side. A rapper from that camp, EBG Grizzle, jumped on a remix of Back in Blood and fired shots in the lyrics, saying, "Crossed my heart, that's on my soul. Lil Mr. Pool, you was a telling gang that 30 shots you now you rapping, that's your bro." He even threw a jab at Durk, saying, "Durk, you hopping on this song." The tension around that track lit the whole city on fire, and suddenly everyone realized this wasn't just rap competition. Real pressure was building behind the music. He threw out the line, "Don't make me slide through O-Block 5.56 with the stock. You know we love exotic Glocks." Taking shots at both Dirk and Shiesty was a bold move and a risky one too. Just a few weeks after dropping that remix, EBG Dizzle got shot, and rumors spread online saying he was paralyzed from the hit. Shiesty went straight to IG to clown him for talking tough and supposedly not being able to walk, turning the situation into a wild spectacle. Luckily for Dizzle, it came out later that he was only shot in the arm and wasn't paralyzed at all. Nobody knows the full story about how his issue with Shiesty started, but people in Memphis kept whispering that Shiesty and Choppa Gang had robbed EBG back in the day. Even then, Shiesty was never officially tied to Dizzle's shooting case, but 2020 was still the year everything started crashing down for him. That same year, the charge that sent Shiesty to prison hit him hard. In October 2020, fans were shocked when news broke that he'd been booked on armed robbery, aggravated assault, and theft charges tied to a wild situation in Florida. He bonded out the same day he got arrested, and once Back in Blood went viral, most people forgot he was even fighting a case. But the Florida situation was serious. According to the judge, Shiesty had rented a McLaren from some guys and linked back up with them to buy sneakers, weed, and lean. But when he and his crew pulled up, something went wrong. Reports say one of the people with him pulled out a weapon and shot one of the sellers. Shiesty drove off fast, but he accidentally dropped a Louis Vuitton bag with $40,000 in cash on the scene. The police traced the serial numbers back to him, and even though he bailed out, trouble kept following him. A few months later, he allegedly got involved in another shooting, this time at a strip club in Miami. Reports say he got into an argument with security, things escalated, and Shiesty supposedly fired a shot that hit someone in the ankle. A federal judge decided he was too dangerous to stay free before trial and ordered him to sit in jail without bond. Nobody knows the full details of what's happening with his Miami case, but last year Shiesty pled guilty to conspiracy charges from the 2020 robbery situation and got hit with a 5-year federal sentence. If he keeps a clean record, he might come home sooner, but even then, his time inside hasn't been easy. According to Gucci Mane, the system has been treating Shiesty harshly. Gucci went on IG saying Shiesty was being held on 23-hour lockdown, getting food trays with barely any food, and dealing with non-stop pressure behind bars. Shiesty himself said that the police don't stop watching you after you get locked up and that prison can feel like jail inside of jail, showing just how stressful his situation got. But things might finally be improving. Earlier this year in February, Shiesty hopped on IG bragging that he had more money at his age than Jay-Z did and even sent a warning to his rivals from inside the prison walls. He's trying hard to keep his career alive while locked up, but the rap game moves fast, and nobody knows if his fans will still be around when he finally steps out. If you're rocking with this story so far, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment to keep the series going.